My name's Daniel Hayes, 34, owner of a two-bay auto shop on the edge of Scottsdale, Arizona. I live for routine. Good coffee at 6:15, first car up on the lift by 7 o'clock, invoices done by 5:30, and a sunset drive down Indian School Road with the windows cracked. Until last Wednesday, my world felt steady. I believe my marriage to Brooke Lawson, 5 years, 1 dog, and 1,000 silly inside jokes, was equally steady. That night, Brooke walked into my office with 2 glasses of Pinot and the strangest calm I've ever seen on a person about to break something. She smiled like she was offering me a vacation brochure. "Danny, I want to talk about trying something open," she said. "I've met someone at CrossFit, Tyler Grant. Nothing's happened, but I feel a connection. I want to explore that while keeping us." I blinked. My pen hovered over a parts order. "You're asking me," I said slowly, "to bless you dating another man and also keep our marriage?" "It's about honesty," she said, soft and almost teacher gentle. "I love you, and I think I might love him too. Love isn't finite." "Right," I said, because humor sometimes sideswipes pain, just like a credit card limit. She swallowed. "This weekend, there's a retreat in Sedona. I thought, if you knew ahead of time, we could do this the right way." The right way. She'd already picked dates, a resort, even a couple's hiking tour. There it was, the line. People talk about boundaries like they're rubber bands. They aren't. They're door frames. Once you step through, you're somewhere else, and you don't get to pretend you're still home. I didn't throw the wine or slam the desk. I stood, took my pillow to the guest room, and shut the door. She called after me. "Can we just talk?" I said, "Tomorrow," and stared at the ceiling fan until it carved the word plan across my thoughts. My routine became a war room. At dawn, I opened the shop, brewed the bitter diner coffee I secretly love, and called Lucas Park, an old friend who runs a small electronics store and knows how to make gadgets sing. Lucas didn't judge. He listened. "I need clarity," I said. "Not rumors. Not guesses. I need facts. Voice-activated recorders, a legal GPS on communal property, and a phone backup for cloud accounts you pay for." He said, matter of fact. "You sure you want this, Dan? You can't unhear truth." "I already heard it," I said. "Now I need timeline." By lunch I had tools and a steady hand. I mirrored the devices tied to our shared accounts. No hacking, no high drama, just the mundane power of bill payer admin. I tucked a small recorder in the kitchen. We still had a landline for her grandmother. Slid another into the passenger side crevice of Brooke's SUV. Set a third in a drawer where late night whispers go to rest. I logged into our cloud with our usual password, our wedding date, a memory that used to be sweet and now felt like a sticky note on a door that never locked. Her inbox coughed up a hidden folder. Weeks of messages with Tyler. The Red Rock Vista Resort, 2 nights, his idea. "Let's ease Danny in," Tyler wrote. "He's pragmatic." Pragmatic, like I was a spreadsheet they could budget their romance on. I called Victor Reed, my attorney. He's one of those patient men who never misses a comma, but will fight like a thunderstorm when asked. "You want to talk options?" he said. "I want to draw a clean line," I said. "No shouting, just reality." That evening, Brooke was chopping bell peppers for her meal prep when I walked in, rinsed my hands, and leaned on the counter like we were just married again and about to debate movie night. "Brooke," I said, voice level, "is Sedona set?" Her knife paused. "How did you? Is it set?" She squared her shoulders. "Yes, I'm going. I hope you can see this is me being honest." "This is me being honest," I said. "If you go, our marriage ends. No door left cracked. Think hard." She stared, then looked down at her neat row of peppers. "I need to know what I feel. Then you'll know," I said. "And so will I." I slept. Not well, but long enough to wake with a clear head and a calmer heart. People imagine revenge is lava. Mine was ice water, controlled, measured, and very, very cold. On Thursday, routine disguised preparation. At the shop, Javier Ortiz, my lead tech, handled customer calls while I pretended to tackle estimates and quietly build a checklist. Torque specs here, document folders there. On my lunch break, I read more of Brooke's messages than any husband should have to read. They weren't graphic, but they were intimate enough to bruise. I learned their desires. Brooke wanted to feel electric again, to be seen beyond meal prep and spreadsheets. She wanted nights that started with jokes and ended with forehead kisses. I understood that longing. I'd fallen into my own habit ruts, too. Wash the oil from my hands, fall asleep to sports, push feelings to the weekend. It crushed me that she'd asked a stranger to fix something we'd forgotten to water. Tyler wanted a partner who applauds his grind. He also wanted access to a life with fewer bills. A background check told me enough. 2 failed ventures, lots of gym charisma, less accounting stamina, and a wife, Megan Grant, an elementary school teacher with a bright laugh on her Facebook page and a trail of school fundraiser photos. I called Megan. "Mrs. Grant," I said steady. "We don't know each other. I believe my wife and your husband to plan a weekend together. I thought you should hear it from someone who won't minimize it." Silence, then a precise inhale. "Where?" she said, thinking like a teacher collecting facts. I told her. I told her times and receipts, and the words I'd never wanted to say out loud. She asked for evidence. I had that. Not private images, not anything grotesque, just reservations, messages, and timelines. She was polite. She was strong. She said, "Thank you, Mr. Hayes," and I heard a door close in her chest, too. Brooke came home glowing. New dress, new hair, a playlist she thought I couldn't see called Sedona Soft Nights. She told me it was a work retreat and slid lingerie into a bag like she was folding paper cranes. I didn't answer. I watched her pretend. It was the strangest theater. 2 people who used to finish each other's jokes, now reciting lines to avoid the truth. Friday noon, a clean BMW pulled into our driveway. Tyler got out, casual Prince Charming in a fitted shirt and a grin that had sold a lot of gym memberships. Brooke kissed him, movie poster style, right there by our porch fern, and glanced at my truck like a challenge coin. They left to applause, only they could hear. I waited 5 minutes, then called the locksmith. New deadbolts, new garage code, new alarm pin. Not to strand her, not to trap her, but to mark the boundary that needed to be marked. We were not a revolving door. After, I grabbed an overnight bag and headed north. The Red Rock Vista deserves the brochure adjectives. Terracotta paths, pinyon pines breathing out the scent of 1,000 summers, and a sky that looks hand-painted. I checked into a room 2 floors above theirs and did what any mechanic does best. Adjust the environment. No crimes, no toxins, no harm. Just friction, placed like little pebbles in pretty shoes. I had already spoken to the hotel, very politely, about surprise anniversary treats that might drop at inconvenient times. I had already asked the concierge about the best place to watch the sunset, then booked a private picnic at that exact spot, under my name, to be delivered to their room by mistake. I didn't need cameras to catch anything indecent. I needed timing, witnesses, and truth. I wanted a record that showed choices, not rumors. Night fell. They arrived. Champagne popped. And then the first knock hit. Complimentary couples massage. 2 cheerful therapists in the doorway because a devoted husband requested it. Tyler tried to wave them off. The therapists were firm. It was prepaid and non-refundable. The mood swerved. Next came a spray of stargazer lilies. Brooke's least favorite flower. Ribbon to a card that read, "To my wife. Counting the hours till you're home." The restaurant delivered the wrong entrees twice. A balloon bouquet appeared with congratulations on 5 radiant years. And at 9, a barbershop quartet in burgundy vests harmonized an old love song outside their door, dedicated from a grateful husband to his faithful wife. None of it cruel, all of it undeniable. The staff smiled uncertainly. Other guests looked on with the nosy sympathy of strangers. Tyler's posture wilted an inch at time. Around midnight, I stood on my balcony and watched the lights wink across the resort. Somewhere below, a party laughed around a fire pit. Somewhere inside, a version of me breathed easier. Not because I'd won, but because the future finally stopped wobbling. It had decided. I would not live in half-light. Saturday morning at 6, construction started above their room. Scheduled maintenance I'd asked about, then quietly suggested would be heroic if bumped up a few hours. Jackhammers hummed like angry cicadas. Tyler and Brooke stumbled to the lobby cafe, arguing in the tight-lipped, too polite way that screams were not okay. I sat 3 tables away, baseball cap low, coffee steaming. I didn't hide for drama. I hid to preserve my calm. If I spoke too soon, I'd speak with my pain. I needed to speak with my plan. Back in Scottsdale, Victor finalized the paperwork. Monday, 2 p.m., he said. We can serve in a way that's dignified but decisive. Do it or class, I said. Not to humiliate, but to end the pretending. Honesty had started this. Honesty would end it. Meanwhile, Megan had her own council moving, quiet and quick. At noon, Brooke and Tyler tried to reset. They walked the Red Rock Trail, her in a sun hat, him pointing at formations like a tour guide audition. They held hands. They kissed, but less like a movie poster now and more like people trying to convince the room everything was fine. They ate an early dinner. The staff, bless them, delivered the wrong dessert 3 times. Every plate piped with B+D. An inside joke from our anniversary last year that Brooke hadn't erased from the reservation notes. Is this a prank? Tyler snapped at the manager, that gym charisma flickering. I'm so sorry, sir, the manager said, genuine and flustered. We've had a series of mix-ups. A live guitarist drifted through the courtyard, playing a playlist I knew by heart. Our playlist. Couples swayed. Brooke stared at her napkin like it might confess something. That night they argued. Not loud. Not nasty. Tired. I wanted you to share me, she said, and the sentence sounded like a sweater caught on a nail. I wanted you, he said, and the you was half her and half the life he'd glimpsed through our windows. Sunday morning, the air cooled. People left with luggage wheels clicking on stone. Brooke and Tyler packed in silence. They drove south. Every local radio station within an hour carried dedications to Brooke from her husband, Dan, a corny, obvious flourish I admit I enjoyed. Tyler's jaw clenched. Brooke stared straight ahead. The highway stretched out like a verdict. They reached our driveway near 8. I was watching a game, calm as a lake. When Brooke walked in, Tyler hovered like a shadow. One more step and you need to leave, I said, not rising. He left. Brooke stood with her arms crossed, eyes shining like a storm that couldn't choose rain or lightning. It was you, she said. All of it. I set the remote down. No, Brooke, it was you. I just turned on the lights. She inhaled like she might speak, then let out a long, breaking exhale. We can fix this. I made a mistake. A mistake is leaving the milk out, I said. This was a decision, and decisions have consequences. What do you want me to do? She whispered. Nothing, I said, because the next part isn't about want. It's about what is. I held up her wedding band. I'd flattened it in a vise. No drama, just a symbol that matched the truth. This, I said, is the shape of what we became. She cried. Real tears, not performative. I didn't gloat. I didn't comfort. That's the thing about boundaries. When you finally honor them, you stop auditioning for each other's mercy. Your code has changed, I said. Your things will be at your sister's by morning. Please don't come by the house tomorrow. Why? She asked, already knowing. Because 2 p.m. has a way of arriving. Monday at 1:58 p.m., I stood outside Core District CrossFit, hands in my jacket pocket, the Arizona sun making heat mirages on the blacktop. Inside, Brooke took her class through burpees, voice strong, posture perfect. She is good at her job, I thought, with an ache that surprised me. I wish that excellence had stayed our private language instead of becoming her shield. At 2 o'clock, Victor's associate, clean-cut and courteous, said Brooke's name. She turned. The envelope exchanged hands. The room went quiet the way trains do right before a rush of wind. She looked down a petition for dissolution. Her voice cracked. The box of the public persona, fearless, open, wellness forward, couldn't contain the mess for one more second. Across town, Tyler got served mid-session. According to a friend who happened to be on a treadmill nearby, his confident posture caved an inch, then 2. Megan did not text him threats or rage. She sent formal notices and a list of what she expected in the coming weeks. That hurt him more than any name-calling could have. I had already sent a 2-minute compilation to the gym owner. No private scenes, no humiliation bait. Just timeline clips, bouquet cards, and the work retreat message compared to the resort confirmation. The owner, to his credit, didn't make a show of it. He called Brooke to the office, closed the door, and quietly said, "Not today, not like this." She resigned before he had to choose. By sunset, my phone was a buzzing beehive. Brooke alternating between anger and apology, mutual friends wanting the real story, my sister asking if I was sleeping and if I'd eaten anything besides coffee and dry cereal, Javier offering to pick up extra shifts so I could handle life. I thanked them all. I replied to none of the gossip. That night, I drove, windows down, the desert sighing into the dark. I thought about the thousands of small kindnesses Brooke and I had traded. Coffee cups warm in the microwave on cold mornings, sticky notes with dumb doodles. The night she sat on the floor with me after my dad's scare and fed the dog pretzels until we both laughed. You can grieve honestly while still walking forward. Those memories didn't absolve what she chose. They also didn't deserve to be drowned in pettiness. Back home, I opened the toolbox and put the ring press back in its drawer. I rinsed the vise, wiped down the bench, and stood in the hush that follows a storm. The house sounded different. Not empty, exactly, clear. I slept 8 straight hours for the first time in a month. Over the next week, papers moved, accounts untangled. Victor negotiated firmly and fairly. Brooke did not contest. She asked for mercy on a few small items tied to her classes. I said yes. Being precise doesn't mean being cruel. Neighbors waved a little longer than usual, the way people do when they want to ask and don't. I kept my routines. I changed the oil in my own truck because something about doing it myself felt like reclaiming a room you'd loaned out too long. I met Megan and her attorney once to exchange information. She was composed, kind, and devastatingly clear. I didn't marry a villain, she said to no one in particular, signing a page. I married a man who started believing his wants were urgent, and everyone else's were negotiable. I tucked that sentence away like a wrench I'd need again one day, to fix my blind spots, not someone else's. People assume revenge ends when the envelope lands in someone's hands. Mine ended later, in the small decisions. I deleted the playlists that hurt and kept the ones that didn't. I let myself miss the old us without romanticizing the last year. I took a hard look at how I'd contributed to the drought, how many nights I'd chosen fatigue over conversation, how often I'd let work eat the hours tenderness needed. None of that excused betrayal. It did keep me honest with myself. When the dust cleared, Core District asked if I'd tune up their old delivery van. Budget's thin, but we can pay something. I said yes, ran the labor down a cost, and chalked the rest off. Not to hurt Brooke, to remind myself who I am, a man who fixes what he can and doesn't pretend he can fix what isn't his. Brooke texted once more. I'm sorry. I don't want to be this version of me. I typed and retyped a dozen replies. I deleted them all and sent 3 words. Take good care. A month later, on a Saturday that felt brand new, I closed the shop early and walked to a yoga class a client had recommended. Amber Sloan, a teacher with a dry sense of humor and a way of cueing breath that made even my stubborn shoulders unclench. She said, "Hi, Danny from the garage," afterward like she'd been expecting me to introduce myself. We talked about posture and old injuries. We talked about hiking trails and why certain sunsets look like they're blushing. We did not talk about CrossFit or scandals or revenge. Relief, I learned, sometimes sounds like gentle questions and the decision to leave the past on its hanger. Weeks grew into a season. The shop thrummed. Javier got a raise, hearing it 10 times over. I added a 3rd bay and took my mom to breakfast every other Sunday. On one of those mornings, flipping pancakes on a griddle that's seen more stories than I have, she squeezed my hand. "You didn't let anger make you small," she said. "I'm proud of that. I'm not a hero. I built a clean exit from a dirty fork in the road. I let consequence do the teaching I no longer had the right to try. I protected my name, my business, my peace. And I learned something I should have learned earlier. If intimacy is a garden, routine can be sunlight or shade. It's not the water's fault if we never bring the can." As for Brooke and Tyler, their spark fizzled under fluorescent lights and lawyer's letterhead. The truth has a way of clearing a room. They tried to keep the story they liked, then watched it buckle under the story they lived. I don't celebrate that. I also don't mourn it. It's just one more thing that happens when people treat love like it can hold its shape while you tug it in 2 directions at once. The revenge part? It wasn't the flowers or the quartet or the timing. It wasn't even the serve at 2 p.m. It was the restraint. It was choosing clarity over spectacle, facts over fury, and dignity over drama. It was telling the truth so thoroughly that the lie lost its audience. On a Thursday much later, I took a sunset drive down Indian School Road, windows cracked, radio low. The desert was the color of warm bread. I thought about the first day Brooke walked into the shop with a busted radiator and a laugh that made me want to fix more than cars. I wished her healing. I wished myself the same. That night, I sat on the back step with the dog, watching the porch light cast a soft circle on the concrete. A text buzzed from Amber. Hike Saturday? I'll bring coffee. Yeah, I said to the dog, because sometimes you practice the sentence out loud before you send it. Let's go see what the world looks like when you choose it honestly. I typed, Saturday's perfect. See you at Trailhead Sunrise. And for the first time in a long time, the word perfect didn't feel like an exaggeration. It felt like a promise I could keep, to myself, to whoever came next, and to that part of me that still believes in building things that last.